Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Remote Learning Day 3. All right, yesterday we talked about multidimensional arrays, and we just sort of got an idea of what they were, and today we're actually going to use them uh, for a short program. All right, so let's just hop into it. You should see, let me just preview that. You should see an assignment uh, called Multidimensional Arrays 2 in your Replit classroom. Here you'll have the usual things, the link to the YouTube video, which you're already here, so you wouldn't need it. Um, you'll find the Google Forms link. Please do this every school day between. Oof, okay, sound. Uh, yeah, please do this Google form every school day between the hours of 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. That way I can record you as present. And if you haven't joined the Discord by now, please, please, please join the Discord. Honestly, that's how I'm going to be communicating you in a live fashion. So join the Discord, just please. And when you join, we already have a pretty vibrant community there. It'll be good times. All right. So yesterday when we did talk about multidimensional arrays, personally, I feel like maybe my explanation might have gotten lost in the woods. So I did provide you guys some reading. It is optional, but highly recommended. It will definitely clear up any questions you might have had but not asked. Um, But yeah, alright, so that's just the housekeeping portion of the day. Let's get right into the lesson. Alright, now see in your main.java file, I've already provided you with a multi-dimensional array. Alright, and I just want to show you that we can actually format these a different way, so they're actually a lot easier to conceptualize as a table or something akin to that. Alright. Now, in order for us to proceed with knowledge, I first need to remind you guys that Java doesn't really read white space characters as meaning the end of a line. What they need to know the end of the line is that semicolon at the end of a line like this, or, obviously the close of a code block. All right, which means this array we can actually have on multiple lines like so. All right, and this is all well and good, and you'll see if I do this and I run it, I'll have no errors. Everything should be fine with us formatting our array like this. Similarly, if I wanted to then put that on the next line, I can. If I wanted to put that on the next line, I can. If I want to put that on the next line, I can. Oops. Okay, let's do that without things being selected. And now I can write my multi-dimensional array like that. You should see that this actually makes it a lot more easy to comprehend it as a series of rows and columns, like a table. All right, where this would be row 0, this would be row 1, and this would be row 2, and where this would be column 0, column 1, column 2, and column 3. All right, so what we're going to do real quick is just a very simple for loop through these grades. All right, here's the scenario. The scenario is that this is a grade book. Each row represents a different student and the grades that they received in the class. And what we want to do, our goal, is to get the average of each student's grade. All right, and you'll see that we use the double data type for these grades so that when we divide them, we don't get that loss of data that you do when you divide integers because it just throws away the decimal point values. All right, so how can we do this? We are actually going to use nested for loops, a for loop within a for loop, because the first for loop is going to say, hey, repeat this process for every row, and the next for loop will say, well, sum up every value in whatever row we are currently in. Enough of me explaining it, let's just do. So when I'm writing my first for loop, all right, I'm going to have a counting variable. I'm just going to use x, something trivial. You can choose whatever counting variable you want. You can call it Mickey Mouse. It wouldn't make much sense, but go nuts. All right, so I'll say int x equals 0. I'm going to start at 0 because 0 is the first index in my array. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say loop while x is less than grades dot length, where grades is the double array that I have, and length will tell me how many elements are in it. Now, what will this value be? Just pausing so that you guys can think about it. What will this value be? If you said that this value was 3, you are correct. Because again, although this is a multi-dimensional array, this is a two-dimensional array of doubles, what you really need to understand it's really just a one-dimensional array like any of the other arrays that you've dealt with before. It's just that the elements inside it are also one-dimensional arrays. So this is a one-dimensional array of double arrays. I know. So how many double arrays do we have in this grades array? Well, we have 3 double arrays. We have 3 arrays filled with double values. And again, double values is just a type of number. All right, so this will say go from 0 and starting from 0 while x is less than 3. So, well, that works because that'll loop for row 0, row 1, and row 2. Okay. And then obviously we have to increment or decrement our counting variable, and I'm just going to do a simple increment x plus plus. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to add up each of the values in a row and then get the average of this sum, all right, by just dividing by the number of values that we've gone through. And pretty simply done. Inside this for loop, what we're going to do is we're going to create a double variable. I'm going to call mine sum because that makes the most sense to me. Feel free to call it what you'd like. And then inside this, I'm going to create another for loop that will loop in the row that I'm currently in throughout each element. All right. So I'm going to create that next for loop. I'm going to say start off with a different counting variable, int y. Again, starting that at 0 because I want to start at column 0, then go to column 1, column 2, column 3. Then I'm going to say loop while y is less than grades bracket x dot length. All right, why did I do that? Well, first, probably my fault, we didn't explain what this counting variable represents. Or maybe I did. This counting variable x represents the current row that I am in my two-dimensional array. So, when x is 0, that's row 0. So when I'm saying grades bracket x, that's saying the array at 0, so this, find the length of it. Well, what is that going to be? Pausing again so you guys can think about it. The length here should be 4, right? And it'll actually be 4 for each row because we have a consistent array of grades. But yeah, so this will be 4 because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 elements in that row. All right, then I'm just going to say, again, a simple increment, y plus plus. And from here, we've sort of already done this when we've averaged grades before, but let's review the process. All we have to do as we iterate through our array is just say sum plus equals whatever grade we were in. And when we're doing one-dimensional array, that was just grades bracket x or I, whatever we call the counting variable. But now we need to also, this grades x only specifies the row we're in. We need to put a second bracket that will tell us what column we're in. All right. Then we're good there. Underneath this for loop, what we could then do is say system.out.println the average of the grades in row, and then I'll put, end that first string, concatenate whatever our x value is as we're looping through, because that'll tell us what row we're in. And then I'll say is colon space, and again concatenate. What I'm going to concatenate is sum divided by grades x, which is again that particular row that you're in, dot length. All right. If you run this from here, assuming Mr. Sands didn't make any errors, you should see, let me zoom in on that. You should see the average of the grades in row 0 is 80.5, the average of the grades in row 1 is 78.75, and the average of the grades in row 2 is 96.25, which you could double check on your own using a calculator, but I'm going to tell you right now, that's accurate. Now, how did this all go down? Let's just do a step-by-step process of what's going on in this program. All right, first we create our array, which again I put in there already for you, and you can just reformat it. Please make it look like this, and be careful that you don't delete any of the commas here or any of the brackets. Make it look nice. All right, then we say this for loop, and we say, all right, start x at 0, continue looping while x is less than grades.length, and then increment x each time. Now what I'm going to do just to keep track of this is I'm going to have a paint window up here. Alright, so we start off with this x value being 0. Alright, and this is going to represent what row we're in. Maybe I should have called it R. That would have made more sense. Oh well. Hindsight's 2020. I'm not reshooting this. So we start off with x is equal to 0. Then we say, alright, we also have this variable sum. Set that equal to 0. That's what we have so far. Then we have this for loop that says, all right, have some y equal to 0. This is going to represent our column. I probably should have called it C, but whatever. And then inside, we'll increment it by 1 every time we finish looping. So far, we haven't completed a full loop in either of these yet. But all right, so then we get to this for loop, and all it says inside this inner for loop is to the sum variable add grades value at x, y. Well, right now, x is 0, y is 0. If you go to 0, 0 in the grades array, that's at this first row, first column, or 0th row, 0th column. So that'll be 80. So then this sum value becomes 80. Then we complete this first loop, and what we do is we increment y by 1. So y becomes 1. And then we go back up to the top of this loop, which then says, all right, to our sum, add the grades, add the element of the grades array at 0, 1, because x is 0 and y is now 1, which will be still this first row, but now it's going to be column 1, which has 90. So then we add that in, and this becomes 170. All right, just to speed up the process, y goes up to 2. 2 is still less than 4, so we do this again. We add the 70 from 0, 2. Right, this is row 0, column 2. So this becomes 240. Increment our y again. 3 is still less than 4. We do this all again. We grab this 82, add it to our sum. This should be 322. And then y increases to 4. 4 is not less than 4. That's a 4 elements that we have in that grades array. So we just stop that inner for loop. We print out the average of the grades in row x, which is 0, so that's why it says row 0, is, then we take this 322, our sum, and divide it by the number of elements in our grades array, which is 4. 322 divided by 4 gives us that 80.5. Okay. If we were going to repeat the process, well, the program then does, all it does is it goes back up to the top of this for loop. X now increments to 1. Sum gets set back to 0. So this is all, I could just get rid of all of this. All right, so sum gets set back to 0. x goes to 1, y gets set back to 0 as well. And then we repeat the process. All right, but now this process is being repeated for this next row. And then, once that's done, we print out the average for that row. We go back up to the top of this for loop, y goes to 2. We do it for this last row, y goes to 3. 3 is not less than 3. This for loop ends, the program ends. All right, guys, hopefully this made sense. Please make sure that you have what is here. And please check, please actually run it and see that you have this in your console. And also, please, please, please make sure that you are signing in to class using this Google Attendance form. And please make sure that you are in the Discord channel. Uh, Maybe I'll make that mandatory and make it a grade just to join. I don't know. I'm still workshopping it, but don't make me do that. Just join. All right. And again, read this passage if you have the time. I know it's been an exhausting couple of days already. So if you're not up to it and you understand what's going on, yeah, skip it. But if you need a little extra nudge, understanding multidimensional arrays, give it a look through. All right. That's our time. See you in the next one. Bye.